He stood in the rain that night, shoes soaked, hands trembling. Every drop that hit his skin felt heavier than the last, like the sky itself was punishing him for all his mistakes. The streetlights flickered weakly, bathing the cracked pavement in dull gold. The city around him roared with life. Cars honking, neon signs buzzing, people rushing past, but none of it touched him. Daniel was invisible. He had no family left, no job, no friends picking up his calls. Just the weight of memories that refused to let go. In his pocket was a crumpled note, creased, damp, and written with shaking hands. It wasn't a letter to anyone in particular. It was more like a goodbye to himself. He'd written it hours ago, sitting under a bridge where he used to watch trains rumble by. He remembered thinking how easy it would be to just stop fighting. The world wouldn't notice. No one would. But fate, it seems, doesn't always shout, it whispers. As Daniel stood there, frozen between despair and silence, his eyes caught movement across the street. An old man, thin, frail, struggling to lift a box up the steps of shelter. The rain had soaked through his jacket, and the box was clearly too heavy for him. Daniel hesitated. For a second, the thought crossed his mind. Why should I care? But then something deeper stirred. A voice so quiet, yet so certain. Help him. He didn't know why he listened, but he did. He ran across the street, the water splashing beneath his feet, and reached the man just as the box began to slip. Here, let me, Daniel said. Their eyes met. The old man smiled, tired but warm. Thank you, son. Not many stop to help these days. Inside the shelter, the air was thick with warmth, both literal and human. The smell of soup lingered, and the low hum of conversation filled the room. People of all kinds sat around. Mothers with children, veterans with hollow eyes, strangers sharing silent companionship. Come in, the man said. You look like you could use a meal. That was how Daniel met Walter. Walter was the kind of man the world often overlooks. Quiet, humble, but filled with a light that never dimmed. He ran the shelter not for money, not for recognition, but because once someone had done the same for him. He handed Daniel a bowl of soup and said, everyone's worth saving. Sometimes we just forget. That night, Daniel sat among people who had lost as much as he had. Maybe more. Yet, somehow they laughed. They shared bread. They told stories of better days, not to escape, but to remind themselves they'd survived worse. And for the first time in months, Daniel didn't feel completely alone. The next morning, before leaving, he noticed a broken pipe leaking near the shelter's restroom. Without thinking, he asked Walter for tools and fixed it. Just a small repair. But when he finished, Walter smiled again. You got good hands, he said. Ever thought of sticking around? Daniel did. Days turned into weeks. Weeks into months. He started helping with everything. Cooking, cleaning, fixing old furniture, repainting cracked walls. Each task became a reason to get up. Each thank you became a small spark in the dark. And with time, that spark grew into something stronger, purpose. At night, Daniel would lie on the cot in the shelter, listening to the rain outside. It didn't sound cruel anymore. It sounded like cleansing, like renewal. He began journaling, writing not goodbye notes this time, but gratitude lists. Small things. I ate today. Someone smiled at me. I helped. Those words became his lifeline. Walter and Daniel grew close, almost like father and son. They shared stories about regrets, lost love, faith, and the stubborn hope that life can still surprise you even when it's at its darkest. One winter morning, a woman came into the shelter with 2 children, both shivering. Daniel found her a blanket, hot food, and a place to rest. Later that night, she told him quietly, "You saved my kids tonight." Daniel didn't know what to say, but as she walked away, he realized something. He was now doing for others what Walter had done for him. Years passed. The shelter became more than a building. It was a heartbeat, a place where broken people rediscovered their strength. Then one evening, as the sun burned orange across the skyline, Walter sat quietly by the door, his breathing slower than usual. "You did good, kid," he said softly. "You made that choice to help instead of give up. Never forget, that's what saved you." That was their last conversation. Walter passed away peacefully that night. At his funeral, dozens gathered. People he'd fed, sheltered, healed. Daniel stood at the front, tears in his eyes, realizing that Walter had given him not just shelter, but legacy. He took over the shelter, rebuilding it brick by brick. He renamed it the Choice Home. When people asked about the name, he'd just smile and say, "Because one choice can change everything." And on stormy nights, when someone new walked in, lost, desperate, hopeless, Daniel would hand them a blanket, a bowl of soup, and tell them his story. How one night he had nothing, no future, no faith, until he made one small choice to help. That was all it took to turn despair into purpose. And maybe that's the truth we all forget sometimes. Change doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it begins with a single act of kindness. So, if you're listening to this right now, if you feel like you're standing in your own storm, know this: the power to change your life might already be in your hands. All it takes is one choice. Soft music fades and rain slowly quiets. Tell me, what choice changed your life? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if this story touched you, subscribe for more cinematic storytelling that reminds us, even in darkness, there's always a way back to light.